we're representing the insured. So we're representing for them from the start to the finish. Not only are we trying to maximize their claim, right? Make sure they get every penny, but make sure they get through the claim clearly, right? They're not getting investigated. They're not getting delayed for months because they said something wrong or they provided the wrong documents. So, maximizing the claim, maximizing each coverage they have, right? So our clients can come up top, and then they have the control of the money, and now they can disperse the money, right? Just like we got it for you, Ruben. Then you can hire the contractor, you can get bids, and you're paying people. You know how much money you have, right? You can pay people. You still have money left over. That money is owed to you. It's not owed to the insurance company or owed to any of their vendors, even though that's kind of how they want to do it. Because the quicker they can control the claim and have their vendors, that way they're controlling the money, how much the vendor's getting paid, and they control that, right? So when we come in, it's all about the insured. It's about our client making sure they come out on top.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
So just a level set, guys. We got Andy in the building. Andy, what's up?
What's going on, Ruben? Look at you. You still got your doctor thing. You're gone.
Hey, listen, the lab coat. You're in the lab, my friend. When you're in the lab, we're not messing around. That means I only bring out the lab coat when I have also the red carpet, which you can't see laid out for individuals like you. So this is cool. As speaking of experiments, anytime I'm in the lab, I'm doing an experiment. So I've actually done this experiment once more in the past before, where last time we had such a good episode. And so on every Wednesday, we meet with my mastermind group. And so what I have going on right here, you get this, okay? It's not, I promise it won't be overwhelming. I have in the panelist section, well, it's funny because not everybody made it. So I see some of my mastermind members are in the attendees. Can you see the number of attendees?
No.
Okay, that's on my side.
Yeah, I can't see anything. I can. Oh, actually, I see participants 21.
Okay, cool. So on the panelist side is where my mastermind members are. They're probably, you've done a business with a few folks, a few of them. They're amazing. William Dotson, he's a partner of mine. He's been instrumental in my growth and success, a really good dear friend of mine. So those folks are going to be able to jump in anytime and raise their hand and unmute them, but they can engage with us in a live podcast, right? And then the folks in the attendees, those are the ones who are on my email list. They read all my emails. That's why they're here. And you guys are amazing. So thank you for supporting. Some of them attended my event in San Diego, which was amazing. And it was only successful because you guys were there. I'm going to ask you guys to drop questions in the Q&A because in the end, while we're going to rip a podcast live, I'm going to still be taking on your questions in the end. So I'll make sure we have enough time for that. So we're doing this thing real live and efficient. You know how we love to do it. Andy, how you doing, brother? Last time we saw you, or last time I connected, you were going away somewhere warm and you look like you got a 10, brother. What's happening?
I did. We went to Dominican Republic with the family, my wife's side. So been traveling there, Florida. It's been a busy kind of time. We built a house last year. We moved in October. So now we're trying to get all the insides done, but all the landscaping and all the exterior stuff done. So it's just it's a busy few months, and then looks like this entire summer is gonna be busy. So yeah, that's
absolutely.
It.
Well, listen, I'm glad you can make it back, and I'm glad we could have you back in here. You look like money as always with the $1 million smile, and you also got the gear, All City Adjusting. I got to give your company a huge shout out. Ever since you came on the show, anytime I've something pops up, I'm like, you got to talk to Andy and All City Adjusting. And the reason I'm plugging him, I'm not just plugging him for the sake of plugging him. I'm plugging him because you put money in my pocket when I was completely out of state and I was in a bind. But I want to level set for a second because not everybody knows what you do, who you are. I certainly do, because anybody who gets me paid, I remember, and you got me in my top 5. But most importantly, you're also helping families on the other side. I want to make sure we understand what mask we're putting on first, because we on here are operators who own properties, and myself as an operator who own property also have the risk of being of needing to depend on someone like you to help us when something goes wrong as a policyholder. But there's a two-sided side to this, because some of us operators on here as homeowners as well are temporary housing providers or property managers, etc., who also house displaced families. And not a lot of people know what goes behind the scenes before a family actually makes it to either a home that we own, or as again an investor who's housing these displaced families as a strategy. I think you know this, or as a policyholder themselves who's a victim due to an unforeseen event and tragedy, which, by the way, happened to me when I had a tree fall in my home, and State Farm was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be a $2,000 claim," and then you guys came back and said, "I think you left an extra zero out." So I want to at least first understand who you are, so everyone understands like where you come into the picture, because there's so many moving pieces. So we understand how we can use you first, and then let's talk about my favorite as a provider, how we can also rely on the expert like you, because I've helped a lot of policyholders as well get connected to people like you. So who are you, by the way? What do you do for a living?
Yeah, so good question. We're a licensed public adjusting company is the legal term. But another way you can look at it is we're private adjusting, right? We're private meaning we're hired only by the insured. So we're licensed in you have to be licensed in the state you work in. Our company is licensed in over 40 states now. We kind of grew with our investors, and you are representing the insured only, right? There's the insurance adjuster, the independent adjuster, everyone, vendors, everyone is working for the insurance company. So everyone that if you ever have a claim and then you get a hold of your agent, the adjuster, the desk adjuster, there are people that come out, whoever comes out is everyone's working for them. Everyone's getting paid by the insurance company. And then there's you, the insured who has a claim, and it's just you on your own, right? Everyone's looking out for the insurance company. That's who's paying their bill. That's who's paying their checks. We're representing the insured. So we're representing for them from the start to the finish. Not only are we trying to maximize their claim, right? Make sure they get every penny, but make sure they get through the claim clearly, right? They're not getting investigated. They're not getting delayed for months because they said something wrong or they provided the wrong documents. So maximizing the claim, maximizing each coverage they have, right? So our clients have come up top, and then they have the control of the money, and now they can disperse the money, right? Just like we got it for you, Ruben. Then you can hire the contractor, you can get bids, and you're paying people. You know how much money you have, right? You can pay people. You still have money left over. That money's owed to you. It's not owed to the insurance company or owed to any of their vendors, even though that's kind of how they want to do it. Because the quicker they can control the claim and have their vendors, that way they're controlling the money, how much the vendor's getting paid, and they control that, right? So when we come in, it's all about the insured. It's about our client making sure they come out on top.
Mm. Okay, so let's put a scenario, because I'm a visual person. I have you here, and I want to make sure we really bring this one home, and then I want to actually pick up where we left off in part two. By the way, do you remember how long? I don't know if you remember how long ago this was.
Last year, is it?
It was not last year, my friend. We're going on like I'm looking at this here, the last
2 years?
episode
Is
that
it
we
really
had.
what?
Look, episode. I'm looking at the details here. This is showing me we were at episode 243. We're now at 300 or so. This was in July 2023. It's been quite some time. Yeah, I
Wow.
know.
Oh,
And I
going
know
on two
this.
years.
Isn't that crazy? And I was still
Wow.
in New York at the time. Remember when I was recording? And so it's fascinating. But let's paint the picture here, because I think it's important. Okay, so I, Ruben, have a home in Atlanta, Georgia, and I pay a mortgage every single month. And part of that mortgage that's baked in is the insurance for the home, and we often forget it. We don't really look at it. I know you and I, Andy, we talked about this last time. You might have looked at it one time, and then the mortgage company kind of bakes it into the either annual payment or monthly payment, and you don't look at it ever again. And then something happens to me, the policyholder. Now, me, before I met you, guess what I did? There was a tree that damaged the carport. Everything was raining. Guess what I did? I called my insurance company, and this is where I went wrong. Because one thing you told me that I should do, and not just because you're in the business, it's because what I learned is that what you say as a policyholder can be held against you, right? And not because
Yeah.
of ill will, it's just because you might misstate something, and these companies, right, the insurance companies have to follow these very strict guidelines. So before that, I had called my insurance company. Now that I know, and for the folks that are on this call, they would call a public adjuster. Now, they may call you, they may call someone else. I like to call the best, so I call you. So now when I call you, what happens, Andy? Because I just want to paint the picture. I call
Yeah.
you and I say, what do I tell you?
Yeah, say, Andy, we have a claim. This is the claim. This is what happened. And then right away, my mind goes, okay, we'll need the policy. Let's get some photos. Let's see the damages. Because if you sent me that, if you called me when the tree fell and you
Mhm.
sent me a picture, maybe it was just a limb that chopped off like a side of the gutter or something. I would say, Ruben, I'm looking at your policy. You have a $3,000 deductible. The damage is going to range, even if I can get you top dollar, maybe 2,000. This is not worth filing, right? You probably
Mm.
get a retail contractor to fix it for, 1,000. Right, that's my first thing. And then if it's something large, okay, hey, we need to get someone out there to protect it. The large tree, right? If a large tree hit and it did more damage than like they did your house, we'd say, hey, you had the tree removed right away, which is exactly what we'd have told you. Get the tree removed and protect it from further damage, right? Put a tarp on, protect it, make sure no one else gets hurt, no more damage to the house, and then we'll take care of everything from there, right? And if you say, Andy, I don't have anyone, no problem. We have a list of people in every location that we can reach out to and say, hey, we need a tarp, we need board up of windows or anything like that.
Okay, got it. So I'm following. So thank you
So
for
we're
that.
taking all the
Yeah.
information from you, and then
Hmm.
now we have a contract, and then now we're taking everything in from calling the claim in, speaking with the insurance, everything. You're out of the picture, basically,
Yeah.
right? Not
Yeah.
not because we don't want you involved. You still see all the notes that we go through. If there's emails to the adjusters, you're involved the entire way. In terms of you're out, like we're handling the claim, right? I don't want you talking to the insurance company, Ruben. I don't want you even looking at nothing
Yeah.
because the wrong thing you say, like you said, is going to be held against you. And we want to smooth this process and we want to maximize everything.
Yeah, and I experienced that because at the time I was actually out of state, and you guys actually completely took over, and we kind of signed this, document where you guys would be the point of contact, and if they called me, I was told, hey, let us take it from here, Ruben, just defer them to us, which I love because it's as if it almost felt like I had an attorney kind of representing
Correct.
me with the big boys and girls, which because it is a big boys and girls club in insurance, these are big companies and they obviously have specific guidelines. Not that they're after us, but they're looking out for themselves, right?
Correct.
So that's helpful. So I hope that paints a picture because I'm gonna drill into some details and questions that of part two of our last conversation. But I definitely want to level set that you would go to someone like Andy, who's a public adjuster. They would take over and then try to get you what you deserve or what you are owed as a policyholder, what your right is. And can you just elaborate on why that's important? Because I know you and I talked last time in episode one of what's the resistance on the other side of these insurance companies maybe even not paying out what they should or have to, and again, not to put a bad name or
Mhm.
anything like that, but like why is there sometimes some resistance? Sometimes it's smooth, but sometimes it's like, no, I'm sorry, we can't pay you out. Why is that?
Yeah, so they refer to their guidelines, right? Their whole training method is like, it's not looking for eye for coverage, but it's looking more of how can we delay a claim, how can we deny it, and they'll, and every insurance company can say, well, no, that's not how we, we're trying to be the best. Well, the way they train their adjusters, and I know because I've done independent work for the insurance side, I know how that side looks, right? Especially as an independent, getting hired as a subcontractor by the insurance company, right? I got paid no matter what, like a certain amount, whether I wrote $200 or 10,000. Like that adjuster that came originally to your home, right? He was
Hmm.
cat, meaning he got paid a certain amount, whether he paid 2,000 or he paid 25.
Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Cat.
So yeah. So in insurance, there's staff adjusters that work directly for the insurance company, right? Those are very rare now. More and more, there's less of them. Why? Because you got to pay them over 100, six figures. You have to pay them benefits. You have to pay them insurance, everything, right?
Mm.
So why? It's easier to hire independent, meaning cat adjusters. They call them cat. Excuse me. That means catastrophe, meaning they get deployed into places, right? So when you guys had that storm, I think it was a bigger storm. I don't know if it was just
Yeah.
your tree. There was more, yeah. So they'll send a couple adjusters from different states. They deploy them to that area to basically handle as many claims as they can, and they call them
Mm.
cat adjusters. So they're independent, meaning they get hired by the insurance company as a subcontractor, and they don't have to pay them benefits. They don't have to pay them anything, and they're basically coming in because I did that work. I come in, that adjuster at your house came in, wrote a quick estimate. He's gone, right? And he wrote a quick estimate. He's gone. He gets paid his money, and then he's done, right?
So
And
you're
now,
saying he has no incentive to basically
no,
be as detailed as possible. He's coming in
why,
quick. Okay, I did my job. I'm out.
Ruben? If I get, let's just say this is just we're gonna throw a number out there. Let's just say I have 500 for every estimate, right? The
Hmm.
insurance is paying me, and they send me five in a day. Why am I going to take no, I'm going to go to all 5 of them, right?
Yeah.
Really quick. Okay. I see some damage here. I see some damage, quick photos, write an estimate, submit it. Next one. I got 5 done in a day. That's 2,500. It's great. These guys just, and again, no, they're not told to do anything else, right? So then who came when we ended up fighting? Who ended up coming? They ended up sending a local staff adjuster because that's what we requested. And that staff
Local
adjuster,
staff adjuster.
and then that local guy, local adjuster, or local gal, it was a gentleman in that case. He's been with that insurance company for 25 years. I remember we we knew some of the same people. And it's a different, he's been trained, he's the old school train method where he did construction. He had all this experience and he's been with it. He's been writing it, you know. So when we came and we discussed, okay, hey Andy, yeah, I can definitely pay for this. Well, this is I don't know if we can do, like, no problem. But we negotiated on site and we were done. I had a good feeling we were done. Well, with the cash adjusters, you can be in agreement on site, and then a day later you get an estimate that's 1/3.
Wow.
It just, because again, there just isn't any, like, they're not guiding him. It's just throw whatever. If it
There's
sticks,
no
it's great.
guardrails, really. There's no
No,
quality. Yeah, got it. So who are these local staff adjusters? Are these other private companies, or are they also
no,
aligned with the insurance, or whose side are they
no.
on?
So they're the insurance company. So staff adjusters are local adjusters hired by the work directly for the insurance company, right?
Oh, got
So
it. Got it.
it used to be that all insurance company had just staff adjusters, meaning their own adjusters. But as times have gone, those guys have left, or gals, they're left, and now you're hiring all these independent adjusters, right?
Mm,
Subcontractors. You don't have to pay them benefits. It's a whole, again, insurance companies. You have to look at it when people, it's like, well, the insurance companies don't pay, or that they're in the business. They're in the
of
business to
course.
collect premiums, and obviously, there's a book. If all your listeners here want to read a book, it's a great book. It's called From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves, and it explains how,
Mm,
like, Allstate went from this $1 million company into a $1 billion, you know, giant that they are now, not by collecting more premiums, not by having more offices. It's because of underpaying claims. They did a whole study of it, and the attorney
wow.
exposed them in court over so many years. They never wanted to release these slides. Finally, after like so many years in court, they released the slides, and all the slides showed how they were going to underpay claims, and only like 5% or 10% of people actually fight the claims.
Right. Right. Because
And,
they
and
don't even know that there's an
no,
opportunity that they can fight. Right. We've talked about this
no.
before. Right.
You're like, even if you live there, right? You were out of state, but even if you live there, you would have got that check. You'd be like, ah, maybe it's good. Maybe there's a couple more thousand, but you don't actually know the details of an estimate. You don't know the details of
Mm,
damage, right? How would you? And
yeah.
something good you mentioned, you called like after. Like, a lot of people, when we call or people reach out to us and we're discussing the claim, they're like, well, why don't I just call you after I get my offer from the insurance? And so when
Mm-mm.
we always like harp on, when do you want to call a public adjuster? As soon as possible. Like, as soon as the claim happens, that's when you want to call. Well, why don't I just wait, have the insurance come out? No, that's why. It's like going to court, they find you guilty, and then you're like, shoot, I should have probably got an attorney. Well, it's kind of too late. You've already been like, that's literally that's how it goes. So it's not about hiring like our company in just general, but any public adjuster. You want to get it as soon as possible, because then we're right there from the beginning, and it makes the process quicker and a better payout. It just on all aspects of it, because ultimately the calls we get, which is a couple a week of clients of people have been denied, and they're denied for reasons that they probably shouldn't have been. They said the wrong thing, or they sent the wrong document. And they didn't say it because people are like, when we say, hey, be careful what you say. Don't lie to the insurance company. You have to be honest. You want to tell them exactly. It's not about lying, or that's not what we're advocating. Just people say too much or use the wrong terms, using the wrong words.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talked about this in
Correct.
episode number 1, where we talked about how, when I say that what something can be used against you, you say the wrong thing, such as a flood versus a leak, you get yourself into trouble if it's not under the coverage, and they by
Correct.
law have to deny that. So this is where you come in, Andy, and your team, or someone on your team, to then take it and handle it in a professional manner, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So so I think it's important. What I wanted to do is put the oxygen mask on for ourselves as policy holders, because we are, a lot of us here are investors as well. Always, always, always. You can call someone like Andy, or someone on his team, or anything of that nature, right? Just work with a public adjuster, right? So that's one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, what we're talking about is, there's a lot of us here, a lot of operators, I'm just gonna mute here. A lot of us operators here that are in my mastermind group, we actually specialize in housing displaced policyholders. So a lot of what I like to say is we really got to rely on we're in two businesses. We're in business of education and sales. Believe it or not, we're not even in the business of real estate. We just happen have done a business on top of real estate, but we're in the business of educating our policyholders because it's their first time going through it and they don't know how it works. Now, if you're on this call, there's a good chance you know a thing or two of what we do is right is working with these relocation agencies and then submitting our proposals. And then when we submit our proposals, there's an insurance adjuster on the other side of the insurance, not to be mistaken with a public adjuster, right? Andy's on the side of the policyholder. There's an insurance adjuster on the side of the insurance company that then approves based on the allocated budget that that family is eligible for, right? And so some of the questions that I think are out there is, okay, what maybe Andy, you can kind of fill us in on like, what's behind this eligibility pool, right? I mean, there's a pool for the actual rebuild for any disaster, but then there's another pool for the relocation funds, etc. How do you look at it? How do you see it? How do you break it down? How can you kind of give us a quick high level of what are the buckets we should really be aware of on the back end?
First thing first is you should have a policy from your client, right? Like I would be if I'm doing relocation, I'm asking for the policy because you don't know really how much coverage they have, right? You might be saying, I got a perfect place for you, it's 5,000, a month, but they're covered, they only have $30,000 of coverage. They have a fire, they're going to be out for a year, and 5,000 is only going to get them through 6 months. So you want to see the policy. When it comes to insurance companies, they play this funny game of, well, our guidelines say we only pay this much, or hey, we only pay for this. It's not how it goes, right? It's what's in the policy. It's what's important. The policy is what dictates the contract between the insured and the insurance company. When it comes to ALE, each adjuster is different. Each insurance company is different. A lot for our clients, they'll say, well, Andy, we're just going to go live here, or we have somewhere to stay. Great. You're going to stay with your brother. We'll do a lease. It's fully furnished. What's the market value? We'll submit it to the adjuster. And, they might say, well, that's too much. Based on what, right? They have their own criteria. But again, each adjuster and each insurance is different. Really, it's hard to pinpoint. They don't really have a system that I found because it's never consistent. Really, one adjuster could come to your house and pay for everything. The other adjuster comes in and doesn't want to pay for anything.
What's the because I appreciate you, by the way, highlighting this. This is why I want to have you a second time. I'm collecting the gems here. Good Hands, Two Boxing Gloves. Is that what you said? Is a good
That's the book.
Okay,
yeah.
So you talked about that. Obviously, they're in the business of being in business, right? What's the incentive behind the scenes for one adjuster to say yes and one adjuster to say no? Do we know?
It's honestly, it seems personal. It's more personal. It's a personal. It feels like some adjusters have a personal vendetta, not against even public adjusters, against their own clients of not paying claims. And a lot of adjusters you think that they're spending their own money. You think they're literally taking their wallet out and they're saying, shoot, I got to give my money to Ruben for his claim. Like that, you would think that's the way. A lot of them have bonuses. If let's say they set a reserve of 25,000, they stay under those reserves. There's bonuses for them. So there's a lot of incentives for them. And again, and sometimes speed. These adjusters. I know the local staff. We do a lot of. Mostly, our company handles large loss, 100,000 and up. So we deal with the large loss, the staff guys, the local adjusters, the ones that directly work for the insurance companies. Well, working with them and talking to them, and they're like, hey, they gave me 3 fires in one day, the next day 5, and the next day 2. It's like, how do you handle that as an adjuster? Like it takes one fire, it takes us a whole day to put a report together, an estimate, to inspect, to do everything. It's a 1-2 day job, and they're getting how are you going to have that time? So it's just not enough time. It's just
So it's fair to say that there's a little bit of sometimes an overwhelm of just wow, interesting.
Yeah, overwhelming. I think not staffed well enough. Just people not having the right experience. We sent in an estimate. There's a $300,000 delta between an adjuster that wrote an estimate. The insured called us, and we just sent our estimate. Well, the adjuster called and said, okay, I see it. I'm going to reconcile it, and give me a week. Well, it's been 3 weeks, so we reach out, no answer. She calls the homeowner and says, whoa, you shouldn't have hired anyone. They're just fluffing their estimate, and they're just going to take doesn't know us, doesn't. Usually those adjusters that say that, are the ones that usually we get the most out. So it's a good sign.
You-
I feel
payback.
when they say that, it's just ridiculous because I'm looking at her estimate. And I'm like, she used this crazy method on our estimating system that lowers the estimate by 20%. And it's not supposed to be used in this situation. So automatically that her estimate could go up 20%. So that's an easy, like, to say we're flow, like, just went off on us, and then sure call us and told us everything, and we put this in an email. But again, right? And then you have another adjuster that we meet, and they're like, "Thank God there's an adjuster." All right, give me your estimate, give me your photos, send everything to me. Tomorrow I'll flip it around. If there's any concerns, I'll send it to you, and we're done.
Oh, so
We
thank
just
God
did,
there's a public adjuster, as in
yeah,
like
because we just
they aligned with you.
because
Yeah.
they know we're going to do their job for them. Then we just have to meet and
Mm.
say, well, just like I met at your property, that adjuster knew adjusting, been doing it for years, met on site, had our estimate, took State Farm's. Sorry, I said the insurance company took theirs, threw it out. He's like, we're just going to go through yours. Obviously, this one, this was not even an estimate. Went through ours, and we were agreed on site, shook hands, and we were done.
Mm. So
So
you get a little bit of both, fair to say. Some
yes.
pushback and sometimes it's smooth sailing.
So to answer your question, there is no we haven't found a method. It's very personal. It depends on the insurance, and it depends on the adjuster.
Experiment Nation, you've heard me talk about how multiple investors across the nation are landing these lucrative midterm rental insurance contracts by making these small tweaks on the branding and marketing side, especially if you're an existing short-term rental operator. There is a quick and easy shift that you can make with the ride guide in place. And because we've launched a 2-day boot camp that not everyone could attend in real time, I've put together a recording where you can get all the materials and all the guides to focus on rebranding either your short-term rental business or your current midterm rental business, so that you can actually have the insurance companies reach out to you. And then day 2 is if you want to actually play offense, how you can reach out to them by listing on the right platforms, etc. If you're looking to get this MTR bootcamp so that you can start optimizing and you can start receiving these lucrative contracts that again provide less headaches, less turnovers, unlike the Airbnb space, you can start receiving inquiries today by having the right guide in place. So please go to experimentrealestate.com/MTR bootcamp or click the link in the bio to make sure you get your hands on the midterm rental insurance bootcamp to fast track your way into landing these lucrative insurance contracts the exact same ways multiple investors have taken advantage of this unknown and untapped niche within the midterm rental umbrella.
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that, because I think there's a lot of nuances in this industry, and I think it's important for us to understand what the nuances are. But let me ask you, this is a question that I've asked several times, and I don't know if there is an answer for this. You know, we look at us as investors, we're looking at coverage D, because typically that's, you know, the loss of use and additional living expense, and that's kind of the budget that we are kind of keen on as an investor, because we're also trying to educate and we're also trying to put on the right proposal that's going to be a good match. What have you been in a position, Andy, where that coverage D amount can shift, or can you pull from one bucket if it's unused and pour it into that? And the reason I say that is we've found sometimes that folks can totally run out of budget. I mean, is it really like an insurance? You pay what you get for, and there's no negotiation around that. Have you ever, in other words, to ask a more direct question, have you ever been able to negotiate more for a client outside of what was in that coverage D amount, or it's pretty much set in stone?
It's set in stone. You know, some clients have actual loss sustained for like
Mhm.
12 months or 24, meaning there's no limit. But most have limits, right? There's a $60,000, 50,000. The limit's the limit. There's nothing else. Now, that's coverage D, right? When in coverage A, it's a little bit different, right? Some in current they have like the limit, but then there's debris removal limit, then there's law and ordinance limit. There's all these other endorsements that make that limit go up by a lot, which people don't even know. But with coverage D, for your listeners, no, there really isn't. So hence why, you know, as a public listener, when we get in right away, and let's say whether it's a family or it's like we want to make sure, hey, oh, they're gonna put us up in a hotel. Well, what's the hotel? Well, it's running like 1,000 a night. I'm like, well, your coverage is only 50,000. You're gonna be in
Mm.
that hotel for a month. That's 30,000. Like, do the math. You're gonna be paying out of pocket for 5 months. So it's it's just educating our clients and make sure they're getting that money or that money is used. So they're gonna actually have that money for the entire period that they're actually gonna be able to rebuild their house.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And the thing that falls back on the insurance adjuster to make those calls and decisions. Let me ask you, you mentioned hotel, which kind of sparks the idea. What we have a lot of us here are, temporary housing providers, etc. Is is it truly a benefit if I don't know if you've seen this, to have a home versus a hotel? Like when you look at the fees and you're negotiating on behalf of your clients, or do you actually, I should even ask, do you even get involved in suggesting to your client, hey, by the way, my client needs to be put in a hotel or versus a home, or you need to give him an option? Do you get involved in that side of the house?
100%.
Okay.
Always fight for the home. Hotel is going to eat up your money, especially unless you have a really high budget. Again, we're dealing with large loss, right? If it's a smaller loss, they're only going to be gone for 2 months, no big deal. But when we're dealing with total loss, a fire, a water pipe burst that all 3 floors are gone. Hey, they're going to be gone for 6 months. We got to get them in a house right away. No, hotel as minimum as possible.
Mm.
Or again, get them a budget, get them some kind of a monthly approved budget, and then that family then go live with another, friends, cousins, family, or something. But we're always that question's really good, especially for your listeners, because yes, public adjusters have impact on all the coverages. Now, not all public adjusters are the same, right? A lot of public adjusters, 80%, if not more, handle only storm damage, meaning, storm chasing, hail, wind, right? A little bit
Mm.
different. Coverage D doesn't pertain to them. All they're worried about is the roofing, windows, that stuff, handling that.
Yeah.
The public adjusters that handle entire losses, large loss, fires, yeah, every coverage, personal property, for us, structure, personal property, other everything's we're fighting for everything and looking out for our clients. So that coverage D, yes, we're looking out for them. And if they say, hey, Andy, no, we want to get in a house or we want to be somewhere, great. We have, like you, I've recommended you. Again, I don't ever say to people who they call, but we'll always say, hey, here's a couple lists, call them for housing, right? But the insurance company does like to, if we get called in, like, weeks after the fire or months after the fire, usually, ALE Solutions has already been involved. They're already looking for a house. So they already
Mhm.
have someone. So it's usually sometimes too late for us to say, hey, I have someone that you should look into.
Oh, interesting. Do you ever, this is actually a good point, Andy. Do you ever uh prime your client to say, hey, they're probably going to look for options for you, which is good, right? They're on your side, but we also possibly have options for yourself. Do you get into that, or do you just set the expectation that, oh, the relocation company of your insurance company is probably going to find you an option? Like, which one kind of comes first into the conversation? I'm just curious as far as
Depending
timeline
on where
goes.
we come in. Yeah, it's a good
Mhm.
question. Depending on where we come in. So we could come in like, weeks into the claim or
Yeah.
months, then it's obviously they usually are working with someone, it's someone's involved. It's right from the beginning, then yes, we'll say, okay, do you need someone, you need housing for sure, or you have somewhere to say, no, we need housing. Okay, great. Yeah, here's a couple people you call, they'll find you something, And again, if I reach out to people like here locally or something, they don't have someone, then they can call ALE Solutions. But I always try to get people that I know involved.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
public
awesome.
adjusters, public adjusters, and restoration companies, agents are housing's people's best friends.
Yeah.
Agents, especially agents, get usually agent gets the call, and if they don't get a call from the insured, they get notified from the insurance company that their client filed the claim.
Hmm.
So agents are super good for referral for vendors, for housing vendors.
So this is interesting, right? Because I think now you're getting you again, Andy. You
Sorry,
always
I
make
don't
it
mean
so.
to get into this too
No, you
quick,
make
but
it you make it so easy for me though. You're like throwing things off the backboard here. It's playoff time. I'm coming in for the dunk. Okay, so listen, this is very interesting. So you brought in exactly what we just talked about, right? We just had an amazing meetup. I see some amazing folks there. Susan was there, amazing. We had Salim there as well, Cindy's other half, and we talked a lot about partnering, right? And I think this is important for some of our listeners because you said something key. I want to make sure we it doesn't slip through the cracks. You said agents. You're talking about the one that actually got you to sign up your policy, whether you're at Allstate or State Farm, etc. It seems like they're also well connected. And then you also said yourselves, right? Public adjusters. So tell us a little bit about if you were in our shoes as an investor who has furnished accommodations,
Mhm.
how do we best position ourselves to form a relationship with an agent and or someone like yourselves, y'all? He's right here. What's the
Yeah.
best way for us to actually partner? Because we always talk about network, and then one of the things that I was kind of talking about a week ago or so is okay, great, but what does that actually look like, right? Is it as simple as me calling my agent, hey, be like, hey, we have furnished accommodation in this state, that state, blah blah blah. If something comes up, keep me top of mind. Like, what would you suggest? Because you're front runner and you're kind of always
Yeah,
introducing these.
I'm a very in-person kind of
Mhm.
type. So if meeting agents, I've consulted a roofing company. One of the things we implemented for them was their sales guys actually every week going to agents locally, meeting the agents, shaking hands, saying, "Hey, we're going to be doing a golf outing," and sending invites, but meeting them in person, introducing, going, talking to them, and dropping something off, some donuts, some just getting in front of them. Because again, agents are they're the first ones that get notified of a claim, whether it's from their own insured or their insurance company that says, hey, your client filed a claim.
Hmm.
That's best. But I've gotten emails from people, whether it's from your circle or from anyone, from other ones saying, hey, we have housing. But if you just send an email, like we think about, like for me example, I get tons of emails every day. If you just send me an email, hey, it's Ruben, I have some housing in Kentucky. Okay, great, Ruben. Thank you. Like
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, what did you didn't, if you called me and said, hey, I have housing, can we talk? Do you have some 5 minutes, Andy, to talk about housing, what I have going on? Yeah, I'll talk to you because I drive all the time. I have time to talk. We can discuss it. And I can say, cool, we have some kind of relationship. Like whenever I think of housing, you're one of the first people that comes in my mind. Then I have Tara, like a local like client that I've known for like because I have a relationship more of not just you just want me to refer work to you. It's weird. We're not looking. Um, Again, even when I reach out to people for work or for things, I don't ask. I'm trying to build relationships and have that
Mm,
friendship, so then they actually think of me when something happens.
yeah. No,
I think
well
that's
said.
that's really the most important thing. It's having that connection, some kind of relationship, that they remember you when something does happen to actually call.
Yeah. That's awesome. I appreciate you highlighting that because I think we hear that and then our instinct might be, oh, let me send an email or let me, and that's, you know, it's to your point. I don't even read my emails. uh,
Well, yeah,
you know,
exactly. So, like, let's say, Ruben, I
yeah,
sent you an email. Hey, Ruben, I'm a local public adjuster.
yeah,
We help with large loss adjusting. Hey, if you ever have something, think of me. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna be like, okay,
yeah,
spam. Most likely, just spam because now there's
yeah,
so much spam going. I'm not even gonna read it. But if I
yeah,
called you and said, "Do you have some time to talk?" or just kept calling you until you're like, "Good, this guy is so persistent. Let me just talk to him for 10 minutes." And then we talk, and all of a sudden, we just like we did the podcast. Then 20-minute podcast turns into 2 hours and we're just talking about life, right? Like there's a relationship. Then you remember that person. It's not just, then when you say someone, had it for you, like, oh man, I know the guy. He was actually on my, like, there's that,
yeah.
that
I,
relationship.
I want to highlight that because I actually just posted this on my Instagram today. It said, great people, no matter what their field, have similar habits. Learn them and use them in your own quest for greatness. One thing I want to highlight for you, the following up is how you got into this space. I want to highlight that because it's like success lift clues. I remember when you became a public adjuster, right? This was in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
you were following up with essentially your mentor for like
Yeah.
what, 2 years?
Holy smokes, man. 2 years, month after month, met him at McDonald's. I don't know how many times I bought him coffee and stuff. Just kept like just dragging me. I'm like, man, this guy, yeah, it was like 2 years, seriously calling and asking. And then finally I was about to give up and actually go into wholesaling. Was kind of like looking for something else. And then yeah, I called him the last time and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, let's meet, and the rest is history. But yeah, 2 years persistence pays
That's right.
off.
I don't want to hear it. If I hear 2 months, 2 weeks, success leave clues,
Okay.
fortunes in the follow up, and it's so interesting. Like I continue to highlight this because that's literally was the top of the conversation in our meetup. It was relationships, 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 right? And I think it goes a long way. And by the way, we're kind of doing this thing right here. You guys need know Andy now. You have a face to someone you could call. The reason why also wanted to have you on here is not only so much to get. First of all, I always love connecting with you because you have a great mind and a great company, and it's so good to do business together. But most importantly, it's also to really understand that it's important for us, especially if we're in this space, right? Temporary housing providers, right? I got my partner Will on here. He's doing some amazing things nationwide. It's a guy I want to connect you with, another stud. You want to talk charisma? This guy knows how to take somebody to lunch. My gosh.
He's been
So,
smiling the whole time. It's
oh,
unbelievable.
he's a stud. He's a stud. So, but this is it, right? Like you need these people on your team. And I see you on my team. Like how many times I'm like, yep, connect with Andy, right? And so you need to have this person on your team because for what it's worth, there's so many times I'm speaking to a displaced policyholder, right? And we're trying to add as much value and be as resourceful as possible and say, hey, by the way, are you working with a public adjuster? Like, what's that? Right.
Yep, exactly.
And that right there could be a game changer. And anytime they're like, by the way, I spoke with them, right? Whether it's you, Will, or Will, or Andy, or anybody else, it's the fact that you're adding you're adding value to them in a situation that they've never been in before, and now you become an asset. And if they're going around walking 3 or 4 different properties, and you're like, by the way, I can connect you with my public adjuster, Andy, which will provide the contact and his team. Guess who looks like a rock star? You, because you provided them a piece of information. If you ask, hey, by the way, what did you speak about your coverage deed? Do you know how much your budget you have? I'm telling you, I have these conversations all the time. We're in the space of educating and having someone in your team where you could just hand someone off to and be like, you should speak to that guy. He'll be able to help you and then come back to me if my home's a good option. That in itself is a way to build a relationship with someone you've never worked with before and to put you at the top. So I think I'm trying to bring things full circle here, that relationship, and trying to bring you in proximity as much to the people who are doing the thing. So I trust that you guys are getting some value from this. But what's going on, guys? I mean, this is good stuff. Andy, my gosh, it's so funny, man. Every time I'm in front of you, I'm constantly getting some insights. I was re-listening to our episode again. I was just like, this is amazing stuff. Tell me, what's one thing, and then by the way, I want to open up the Q&A for especially my mastermind students that are here for anything that I may not have covered. So definitely raise your hand if you have some questions, because I don't want to let the serendipity go to waste. I see a question just came in as well. If you're just listening in, put in your questions, because this is real as it gets. This is I want Andy to be able to want you to hear it from him. But Andy, what's a big misconception that you think is completely like, man, like this is a huge oversight with either public adjusters or anything in the industry that we think we know and we really have no idea? What comes to mind first? I'm putting you on the spot, but there's got to be something. Yep, it's that.
Yeah, right away, the word that the insurance is going to take care of me. Like, hey, then no, I'm going to have the insurance come out. Oh, I'm going to let the insurance kind of handle it. It just, to me, like inflames like rage. It's like you have no idea what you're going to go through. You have no idea what they can do. Yeah, it's once in a while they actually the right guy comes out, and you're lucky if he pays close to fair, maybe once in a while. But yeah, that always comes to mind. Like you don't know what you're going up against, and the team they have. Like it's a machine. The vendors, the adjusters, the desk. It's a whole team, and you're by yourself with no knowledge of policy, no knowledge of negotiating, no knowledge of anything that takes like 15 years that I've been at this, and every claim has been different. Ruben, I've never had the same claim. There's never been like a consistent thing because every claim is so different with coverages, damage, adjustment. Like there's so much different things that happen. There's never a constant. So it's just fun. But at the same time, for someone that's never done it, it's hard. So that's like my number one.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. Because it's sometimes it's it's we got to remember that you always want to have no one has your best interest than yourself, right? Everyone has their own interests as well, right?
But like how can it, so for all your listeners, and you have a team, like I have my own team that I reach out to, whether it's an attorneys for advice and stuff like that, right? it's free advice. What does it hurt? Like if I need them, great. But if I don't, and they just give me free advice, like why does it hurt? Like sometimes people have this. I mean, I don't know if it's it hurts them to ask for help, or they just don't think about it. I'm not sure. But I always offer, to every podcast I've been on, I offer my cell phone and say, hey, if anyone wants to call, there's my direct number. They can reach out to me anytime. Why? Because if people have questions maybe before a claim regarding policy or something, to me, it's more about building that relationship or kind of educating people than it is about, it's not just about money. It's about having that relationship, or trying to help someone even before something happens. But waiting to call, it doesn't do you any good. You want to call, even if you called me and you said you had a claim and I say, Ruben, you don't need me or you don't need any PA. You have a simple claim, you have a limit of this, the damage is over it, you're just going to get paid and you don't have to worry about it. That happens all the time with my investors. They'll call us for a claim because they have so many properties. We look at policy, we're like, hey, we're not going to do anything on this one. The insurance is just going to come in and this is just going to get paid out limits.
Yeah. That's a good segue here. I see the questions coming in, guys, by the way, and this is a good segue with Leo's question. And then I'm going to strictly stick with the mastermind questions and then come right back to you. I see Iris in our mastermind has a question as well. But Leo just asked this question. I think it's timely. How do public adjusters get paid, right? If you as the homeowner reaches out to them and not the insurance company, I think this is a very good question and very insightful for you guys to know that there is no upfront cost. Talk to him, Andy.
Cash. We get paid cash.
Cash. Cold cash.
Only. Cold cash in a bag.
No paper trail.
No.
Kidding.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's no retainers. There's no fees, like extra fees. It's a contingency, right, of what we recover. So we're inclined to maximize everything and get the claim paid as quickly as possible because it's all contingency. And our fee starts at 10%. Some claims it's more. If it's a large claim, we have a scale where it actually goes down as the claim goes into the hundreds of thousands. But it's all contingent. And then we don't get any money up front, not in the middle. Once the claim is done, once our claim is settled, our insured gets a check. That's when they pay us. Super easy process.
Yeah. And just for context, I think last time you told me, I'm not going to count your money by any means, but it's a percentage of what, like, and not me counting your money live. Is it like a 10%-ish? Just so people have an idea.
10% is where it starts. I mentioned that.
Yeah.
10% is where it starts. And then the claim, let's say we get hired in the middle or something, it might be a little bit more, a higher percentage. And then if it's a really large loss, then we usually do a scale where it starts at 10. And then as the claim goes up, our fee actually goes down.
Yeah. And just for context, because I want to be like your case study, because I did this, and I'm going to put it out there because it's a safe group. And we kind of already name dropped Love State Farm, ended up switching to Proper, which, for you guys who are operators is a good one because this was after it turned into an investment property, which is probably Iris's next question, which we'll get to in a second. But just for context, I had received, again, probably from a cat adjuster. It was like, they were like $2,000. I'm like, what? And then I called Andy and they got me $20,000. So do I want Andy to take 10, 15, 20? You can have it all, brother. He just added an extra zero and I didn't have to do anything up front. I didn't take any call. I was out of state. It was handled like the professionals that your team are. So I just want to give that context of like, even if you wanted to be a penny wise and a dollar foolish, you couldn't be. You just have to make a call because I got a lot more by working with you, and it was also less headaches. So
we explained to everyone. You can pay us 50%. If we charge our clients 50%, they'd still have more money than they would without us, and they'll still have money left over even after paying us. It's just the case. So yeah, 10% is and your claim was a small claim. Most of those claims like that, we actually handle large loss. But for our investors that are in our group, like clients that we have relationships with, we'll do any claim, even if it's $5,000. We would do any claim. And like in your claim, Ruben, for example, even after paying us, I can't imagine the repairs cost you more than even after paying us. I don't know what you
give me an early Christmas present. That's all it is.
Okay, yeah.
But take care of me. That's why I have to have you back. No, absolutely. Listen, Cindy, I'm going to call on you next. This is flowing beautifully with this question here. So Iris says, do you work with investment properties as well? Does your process differ when the home is a primary residence versus an investment property? Great question.
Great question. No, it doesn't. Most of our clients are actually 80% of our clients are investors, landlords, business owners. The other 20 are homeowners. And just so your listeners know, Me and my wife have been investors since we got married, so 10 years. We bought our first duplex. We've bought a bunch of properties since that. We did our first 1031 last year from a duplex into a 7-unit commercial building. So like when I look and speak to you guys, I'm speaking from the same angle. Like from you guys, I can understand because I'm in that space. We invest, we're landlords. We actually have an Airbnb that we purchased like 6 months ago. We did some work to it. And then we were going to flip it, but we're like, oh, let's try the Airbnb. So we did the Airbnb for a couple of months. We're like, I don't know if we want to be in the Airbnb business. So now we're just selling it. So again, I see where you guys are coming from, and I'm speaking as if I was in your shoes as well, because I do the same stuff. So
Andy, you got to join the mastermind, brother. What are you doing? We're out here.
I should.
We'll get you all these claims, man. Just put your
have
property
3 boys.
in Will's database. We'll take care of you.
Ruben, I got 3 little boys running around. So after this business, it's like I'm just chasing boys all the time. So
yeah. Well, listen, someone might want to co-host it for you and get you some nice, consistent insurance contracts. See, relationships. We might make something happen if it's not already sold yet. Cindy, you've been super patient, and I'm so sorry. I think earlier I had no idea what I was talking about. You can definitely put your camera on. Do not be. I think I told you to turn it off because I'm fighting for my life up here with this platform. So, Cindy, go ahead. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, I'm driving right now, so I'll leave my camera off. But thank you so much, Andy. This has been so informative. I really appreciate you taking the time out with your large family. So my question is, we actually had a family reach out to us recently. So they're going through the insurance claim. They had a fire at their home, and so we're going to be helping them, housing them. Do you find that there is a point when it's too late to reach out, or at any point is it okay to still reach out and for an assessment?
No, it's never too late. Again, yes, there's too late. Yes, if maybe they've already started the construction or they've already demoed the house and threw everything out, and they're starting the repairs, then it's hard to get involved. But as long as the house is intact and everything's still in there, it's not too late for us to get involved. Good question for a family like that is, who's going to inventory your contents? Who's going to dig through that rubble and inventory everything that's in their room? And if a family says, well, I think we're just going to, because the insurance companies don't do it, because it's the burden of proof is on you, the insured, who's going to actually detail every item? And if an insured says, well, we're going to do it on our own, a 2,000 square foot home takes 3 people a week to take pictures of, and then it takes another team about 4 weeks to put a list together for one house that's 2,000 square feet. That's about $500,000 list. People don't underestimate how much stuff they have. That's kind of the biggest selling point for us to get into claims. What really sells people is the personal property, the inventorying, and the amount of money we bring in on the personal property.
Wow,
that's great. Yeah, and it's always it's always their first time. So so that's really great. I would love to provide the family with that information. Thank you so much.
And Cindy, and when we sit down, because we sit down with families all the time. Now, I like to sit down with families is look at it this way. If you guys are in a situation where you're in a hurry and you just want kind of a company to come in that works with the insurance company and just handle everything, take all your money, they're going to come, throw stuff out, clean stuff out, bring you smelly stuff, and just do it that way, then hire them, hire the construction company. If you want someone to come in, handle the claim for you, get you paid for personal property, get you paid for construction, and all of a sudden you have all this money, and now you're in charge, and now you're hiring your contractor, and you actually know the budget and how much money you have and how much money you have left over, then we're the team you want. But if you want that route of having someone like Surf Bros commercials, right? Like it never happened. If you want those guys to come in and just clean some vacuums, flip some stuff, and you're back in, then that's fine. Then there's that, and that's kind of how we explain it to people. So then that way, at least they know what their options are. That kind of makes them more comfortable.
Yes, all of that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Cindy. Drive safe.
Yeah, drive safe, Cindy. Thank you. And just a comment on that, just so I'm clear to bring the point home, you're talking about like when something happens to a home, let's say like a fire or maybe let's call it water damage, you will have someone on your team go in on a granular level and just itemize the personal property.
It's the biggest. I don't know how many PA companies actually offer this service. Actually do personal property. That's our biggest thing. We've built a team around it. Estimating and that was always in our bag. Like, we were always good at that. That's something most PAs can do, is structure the damage building. But the personal property, we just had a fire in Ohio, and great family, Alan, and we inventoried their home. Chris was there with Susanna and Mandy. They were there for a week and a half in that house. Just the personal property in the master bedroom was $150,000, Ruben. $150,000, just one bedroom that we found. Think about that. His limit is $700,000. We're gonna go way over that limit. They're gonna get all that money up front. They'll never have to replace anything. Just get all that money. $700,000 is gonna go in their pocket. Well, obviously they'll have to pay us our 10%. Sorry, $630,000.
Everybody eats. Hey, listen, work well done, well earned, not given. My goodness. I mean, that's a lot of items. That's good to know. Thanks for highlighting that, because I think it's important for us to understand. Like I always say, you can only do business with people, or people are more likely to do business with you when they understand how you do business. So I always want to make sure we understand that. I see AJ here in the building. I'm gonna allow you to talk, brother. Let me know if you're able to unmute yourself. How's it going, AJ, or possibly Don?
Hey, Ruben, how you doing?
Hello.
How you doing? I am in my car as well, but
of course you are, AJ.
Sean is driving, so I can't turn on video.
No, that's all good. Go ahead, shoot your question to Andy.
Yeah, so Andy, are you still in the Chicagoland area, first of all?
AJ, I grew up in Poland, but my childhood was in Chicago. We actually moved out to Indiana, Northwest Indiana, if you're familiar with Crown Point. We've been out here for 10 years now since we got married.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I would love to. Dawn and I, my wife, who is my partner, we manage about 70 short-term rentals across across 3 states. Most of them are in Chicago land area. We probably have about 50 plus here, and then the rest are in Arkansas and Texas. And we're growing. We're going to be at about 80 in the next 5 months. And so we always have housing. We work with a lot of insurance companies. They always call in the place people, of course. And so I definitely want to connect with you, and maybe take you out to lunch or something one day. And
I love a free lunch, AJ. I'm easy. You got lunch, no problem. Yeah, anytime. We're in Maryville. Our main office here is in Maryville, right off Broadway. You'll know this area. So anytime. I'll leave my cell phone number at the end of Ruben doesn't mind. I'll love to leave my phone number, my personal number for anyone. So yeah, you can reach out to me, AJ, anytime.
Yeah,
congrats to you. Congrats to you and your wife. Holy smokes, 70! You guys are killing it. Wow.
This is why he's always on the move. I'm telling you, it's hard to. No, AJ is amazing, and Don, they're my mastermind. So I'll give you the contact directly to Andy.
Awesome.
Certainly, that's not a problem. But yes, look at that, amazing connection. Glad to hear it. Drive safe, AJ.
All right, on my way to a new setup right now. So
I know you are, sir. You don't stop. I love it. I love it. Amazing. No problem. Gonna go ahead and mute you there. Okay, cool. And then we got some. Yeah, hey, we're making things happen, Andy. We rub shoulders with the best.
70. Hey, we did one Airbnb, and I told my wife, I'm not doing it again. I've never put so much stuff from Amazon. You think IKEA is BS? Putting all this furniture stuff from Amazon.
Come on, man. We got to get you plugged. We have a system out here in this mastermind. We're gonna get you.
I bet there's a system
plugged in.
The system I like is the commercial property where I don't have to put furniture together.
I'm not mad at you. I'm gonna have to tap in with you on that. Awesome. So we got the lovely Shona. She is amazing. Shona, any tips on getting proposal approved faster? I always do 2,000 deposit, but wondering what else I can do. I've heard 20 days to vacate too. Thanks. So this sounds like on the proposal side, as an investor that's submitting a bid, for lack of a better word, or a proposal for the adjuster to approve on the other side.
Are you submitting the proposal to ALE Solutions or directly to the adjuster?
Let's see here if we can get. We love Shona, so let's see if Shona can answer. Oh, actually, I don't know if I can do that. Hold on, give me a second. Let me do this. Shona's VIP. Allowed to talk. Let's see. Shona, can you unmute yourself, girl? Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You sound fantastic.
Okay. This is to like ALE because I feel like I get the leads and it's the process, and it's always like ASAP, and I follow up, but like it just seems like they're busy. And is there anything else I can do to help package it to make it more appealing?
Do you know what they're doing, Shona? Because what I've realized they do with our clients, that like we got involved in later on in the process, is they're shopping around. So basically what they're doing is they're taking your proposal, they take like 2 other proposals, and then they submit it to the adjuster and let the adjuster pick the thing. That looks like what's happening. They're just not submitting one lease, they're trying to submit more.
That makes total. So is it price then, or what's our advantage?
So now it's all about the money. It's all about the money. If you have a three bedroom, 2 bath, and you're at $4,000 a month, that other person is same 3 bedroom, 2 bath for $2,500. Which one do you think the adjuster is going to approve? The cheaper one. That's what they're looking for. It's all about money.
Okay.
And
okay.
Do you think though that the and Shona, I think great conversation right here. Doesn't the policyholder in the end though have the decision to make because I know a lot of policyholders will walk properties and say, nah, don't like it, not up to our standard, and sometimes they're giving the whole team the run around. So what about that? I mean, how do you factor that
They
into
do.
the play?
So if they send a property that the insured doesn't like, again, it goes to ALE, then it goes to the adjuster, and the adjuster sends it back to ALE, say, hey, I approve this one. Then ALE has to come back to the insured. The insured then can say, yeah, this one doesn't fit us. It's too far away. That's the one we like. So the insured has a lot of power. So what would help that proposal, Shona, is actually if the insured was calling that adjuster every day and saying, hey, this is the proposal that we sent to ALE. I'm sending you a copy as well, Mr. Adjuster. Can this be approved? We have limited time. We really want to hurry up. Like the insured has a lot of power, but the insureds don't know. They just went through a, catastrophe. They're worrying about their family and everything else. They're thinking the insurance is there. They're going to help them. They're going to really speed the process up. That's not the case, but they just don't know. But having the insured call and kind of push it would be the best bet. Unless there's a PA, like public adjuster actually representing them, that's doing that for them.
That's amazing. So it's following up with the adjuster, not with the ALE or temporary.
100%. That would really help because that's what makes the decision. ALE is just a vendor. And a lot of the cases when we're given, let's say, Shona, you had a fire, you tell me, hey, I'm going to actually go travel for 6 months. But we're not going to let you not get ALE coverage. We're going to say, well, you still got to live somewhere. Well, your brother's house is right there. Let's just sign a 6-month lease, do a 6-month lease. Just that. We'll say it's a $5,000 a month thing. We'll submit it to the adjuster. It's the adjuster that there's no ALE involved. You can, again, so if you admitted to ALE and went directly to the adjuster, that's who's making the decision, not ALE Solutions.
So is it the homeowner's right if they know their budget? Can they say that's my right and they can advocate? Do they have? I mean, that's really interesting. I don't want to take any more time.
No, they do. Of course, they can definitely say that. Shona, they can definitely say, hey, this is the property that's closest to me. This is the best property that fits our family. They owe you additional living expense. They owe you not to live in a more lavish home. But as long as it's this, you have to maintain the same standard of living. That's kind of the rule they go by. If there's any rule, it's maintain the same standard of living. So if your property is the same standard of living and nothing better, then yes, they can definitely say, hey, this is the property. We have to hurry up because there's other people looking at it, Mr. Adjuster. Can you get this approved so we can get the lease signed? But if you don't follow up with this adjuster twice a day, 3 times a day, I'm telling you, they're getting 2 or 3 claims a day. That means that claim is just getting pushed to the side, right? So ALE Solutions might send that adjuster an email, and by the time that adjuster gets the email, we just talked about how often do you look at emails when you're getting so many of them throughout the day?
Yeah.
So.
That's so helpful.
And some adjusters, Shona, are great at response. Like we have some adjusters that you can call their cell phone, they answer, and they're right there. Some adjusters won't answer, but they're just text you back, and they're texters. And some don't do any of it. They just only communicate through email once a week. So it just depends on the adjuster. But honestly, getting the insured on your side and having him, or you can even write the email. Say, hey, Shona, I'm going to write this email for you. Please send this to your adjuster that it's coming from you.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That was thank you.
Yeah. Of course.
Awesome, Shona. Thank you so much. Always love seeing you on here. Listen, guys, Andy, like I appreciate you so much. We're gonna go with one more mastermind question. And I see we're just wrapping up here. Maybe we can squeeze in one more, but I want to be mindful because you got a whole three kids and family.
My kids are. I don't know where my kids are. So right now we're okay. I don't know where they're at. It's quiet.
Well, they're probably looking for it, so we'll get to it. So thank you,
They're
Shona.
probably on the roof, jumping up the roof or hanging somewhere. Crazy.
Susan, what's going on? Can I unmute you, or can you unmute yourself? Let me see. There you go.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you. So I just have a question since we're on the topic of the process with the adjuster and the thought process that the adjuster goes through. I'm really curious, at what point would a claim to find temporary housing move from one relocation company to the next? Because I've seen it happen where it was like the Sedgwick, let's say, was working on finding housing for something, and then all of a sudden it's ALE or vice versa or something, and they say that it's like, that it's the adjuster that made the decision, and I'm just curious, like, what is going on behind the scenes?
So Cedric maybe say, hey, we can't find a property, or we can't find anything in this area, and then they move it to ALE, or they say, hey, there's only one and it's really expensive. And then adjuster's like, no, we're gonna find see and contact ALE solutions. So it depends. But the adjusters really have a mind of their own. They can really do whatever they want. I mean, there's no rules. It seems like sometimes it's like wild, wild west. Like, the questions we get asked about this business, like, well, like, do adjusters, is there any system, or how are they? They just kind of depends on the adjuster, depends on the insurance. It's hard to say.
Interesting. So if the adjuster just says, I don't like anything that you're giving me or whatever, they can just say like, no, we're going to go with somebody else. That's
literally it. We've had claims where they had their own vendor meet with us, and the vendor agreed to our estimate. And they say, well, no, we don't like that vendor. We got a different one. Bring in the other guy.
Wow.
It happens all the time.
Fascinating. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thank
Relationships, you. Relationships.
Sorry, Susan. I was hoping I could give you a better answer, but that's the best I got.
No, I just to me, it's all a big black box. So that definitely helps.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Susan. Always.
Yeah,
always.
You too.
My main man, Will Dotson.
What is going on?
Iron sharpens iron.
Man, I both of you guys, thank you so much. Obviously, Ruben, for getting it going. Andy, just fantastic. This is what we eat, breathe, live, and sleep, man. We love it.
Yeah, I see. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, this is, we stay in the weeds, try to just, because it's an ever-changing, ever-growing, evolving, trying to stay a step ahead. What happens when you have, let's say the claim has an expiration, or let's say their policy has an expiration date, but they need 18 months? What would you inform?
Expiration date. So most policies, you have 12 months or 24 months from the date of loss. It's usually your policy coverage, like how much your limit is. This is, your limit. You have depreciation, you have ALE, and that ALE will go on for 12 months or 24. So I don't. I'm following. Sorry.
Got it. What if? So let's say you have a policy that is a 12-month policy, and you have a fire, and they say you go and you take a look at everything and say, hey, it's going to be a minimum of 18 months to get everything back to normal. But yet that ALE budget's, so to is only allotted for those 12 months.
12 months.
Do you stretch it? Do you just get creative with that budget? That's what I
get creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm looking for I'm trying to get creative. How can we get all this money in their pocket so then they can maybe go outside of ALE or somewhere local, find like a house, right? Maybe not like contemporary housing that's a little bit less money. Just trying to get creative for them, right? Because again, if a temporary housing is already furnished, so obviously it costs more money, right? And it's temporary, so if you're getting someone there, in a short time for a short time period, sometimes long, a little bit longer. But if you're looking for a regular rent that's unfurnished, right? The rent's going to be lower. Well, so sometimes for families, what we've done is, hey, you have to buy furniture anyways. You have personal property. We'll get you an advancement from the insurance for that, because you can get advancement for your clients. So for all the listeners, if they haven't gotten advancement, like your Cindy, your clients that had a fire, they can ask for an advancement from the insurance company up to 25, 30, 40,000. They don't even know. And they could get that money. Actually, it's going to go against their personal property, but they can get an advancement on their claim to help with all the expenses they're going to have right now. But what we're trying to do is maybe find them a local landlord to move them in, and they're going to buy furniture anyways they're going to need for their house once they rebuild. So it's a little bit cheaper. Again, trying to get creative, right? Because we do see a lot of people being underinsured and not having the right coverage.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think too, as just from our point of view as temporary housing providers, is I currently have, part of my policy is I always ask for that declaration page just to double check, because
yes.
obviously the insurers, they have the choice to work with a relocation company, CRS, ALE, so on and so forth. And I've had conversations with different insurers where they've said, hey, I don't want to work with ALE. I just want to do it this way, go direct. And we've done that. But same thing. It's like that declaration page is like the background check. It's like, what's going on with the budget? That's great. What about
it all starts with the declaration. It all starts with the policy. The first thing we always want is the policy. So the policy is going to tell us everything.
Exactly. What about conferences, or what do you go to? Do you go any of those
Yeah, we're trying to hang with you, man. Where you hang out? Where you stay at?
Where do you go?
With my 7-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my 1-year-old. That's who I hang out with. Yeah. That's as wild as I get. My Friday afternoons are really wild these days. Conferences we've done. We do a lot of association management condo management companies. A lot of our clients now have become management companies. So that's really important to us, going to those expos. And that's kind of about it for now. We haven't done much. When it comes to like classes and education for us, that's more appraisal. There's like, courses for fire, smoke remediation, all that we take, just to help us when we're negotiating claims. Yeah. Real estate, again, me and my wife, our real estate, we just find as we go. We don't really do much. Networking that we do is I do networking like this for work and stuff, and then just somehow always ties in and everything works itself out. But yeah, I haven't done any real estate classes. The last class I did was a self-storage class in Indianapolis a couple of years ago.
I have one more question. I recently had this come up where we're helping a family, and the whole damage deposit issue came up. And when I spoke to an adjuster, he was saying how the damage deposit isn't quote unquote part of their ALE budget. So he was able to pull it out of contents instead. And he was like, oh yeah, that's a loophole. We'll always push for that. He was like, oh, mind you, every insurance company is a little bit different. He was like, not to go around splitting hairs, but is that something that you've heard of or that you're familiar with at all as like a loophole or some kind of confirmation that it actually works all the time?
The advancement, is that what you mean, black box? Can you rephrase that?
Yeah, when a family, let's say a family's, their home burns down and they're moving temporary furnished accommodation, and that rental is $10,000 a month, and the property owner, the landlord, is asking for a $5,000 damage deposit.
Yes.
And the insurance is saying, hey, we're not covering the damage deposit. That's not part of ALE. That's you guys have to cover that. The insured.
Correct.
The insured is saying, I don't have the money. And then and so what some adjusters have done that I've worked with, they've been able to pull it out of contents. In other words, finding a different budget or different pot to pull it out of to cover that on behalf of the family.
Usually, and how I would think they do it is they do it as an advancement. So they pull it as an advancement and they put it towards. So it still comes out of the insured's money, the personal property. It goes against the personal property, but they advance it out of that money to cover that ALE. That's how they do it. Because it's still the responsibility of the insured to pay that and then get that back after. So then technically if they take it out of their personal, so all it's doing is they're borrowing from their own pot, which eventually they'll get that money back once they leave the rental. The landlord gives it back to them, so they get it back for their claim.
Perfect.
But smart on the adjusters to actually do it. Also, you can move deductibles too. If you have a smaller claim, a lot of people don't know, like, deductible doesn't always have to be taken out of coverage A. It can be taken out of any coverage that gets maxed out. So let's say you have an insured, he has, 30,000 ALE limit, but a $200,000 structure limit, for example. And the estimate, he's got a big deductible, maybe 10,000. Well, the ALE is going to get maxed out, but maybe coverage A won't. And they're taking that 10,000 out of coverage A. Well, if you ask the adjuster, you can actually have them move the deductible to the coverage that's being maxed out because it's already been maxed out. And now it's like the deductible gets waived.
What?
Good tip. Yeah, it's a good tip.
Hold on. So are you saying, just because this might be the last big powwow and we're going to end it, look, mic drop. Are you then saying that they could pull something from coverage A if there is
deductible? They can move deductibles around. So, which is important for us as a PA, especially someone that has maybe a large deductible, to get that moved into a coverage that's already going to be maxed out.
Why is the max out so key? That you keep on saying max out. Why does that matter?
Because if I take a $10,000 deductible and I move it to a coverage that's okay, if I move it to a coverage that's not being maxed out, it's going to be taken away from that payout. So if the ALE payout is 20,000, if I move the 10,000 from structure A to D, they're just going to take the 10,000 from there, right? But if it goes maxed out, if it's over limits, then that technically deductible gets waived after it's over limits. Once your claim is over limits, it gets wiped out. That's why. Again, on large deductibles, we've been able to get a lot of people and move those deductibles and get a lot of more money for our clients.
Yeah, definitely going to play in the bigger pool. Listen, we could have you here forever. I want to respect your time. Andy, I can't thank you enough. Listen, I got a little thing that we're going to do for Andy, and Andy doesn't even know about this, right? I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to ask all of our attendees. This is your Google business page, right?
Yes, sir.
We're going to make you famous. Guys, if you got value and you believe Andy is a trusted person you would want to work with, and you got a lot of insights and you can tell he knows what he's doing, just drop him a review. It's free. But he spent an hour, and it's about to be an hour and a half of his time. He's giving us insight. Didn't pay him. Andy is just so good to us.
Wait,
to our
did you say you're not paying me? Just kidding.
I'll have to talk to my assistant. It's not going to come out of my pocket. It might come from a different structure. I might have to advance it. It might come from a different bucket, right? But no, I mean, listen, I will pay you in referrals all day long because you're a professional and you make me look good. So I want everybody to just go ahead and type it in Google, drop him 5-star review on Google. It just, I think that's the least that we could do. And Andy, my goodness, where do we tap in? I see that there's some information here, but what's the best way for us to get in touch? My mastermind members, I'll send them your number directly, but for everyone else, what is the best way to get in touch?
They can literally go on our website, allcityadjusting.com. Right. If you go on All City, if you actually click on our website, I'll show you something. If you right there, that little website button, I think just to the right, there's that website little. Yep. If you actually click that, if someone, you have a client or yourself, you want to even just like review a claim, but you don't want to talk to someone, maybe that you're just stressed, there's a lot going on, you don't want to talk to someone on the phone, you can click that free claim review and you can just literally upload your policy, upload stuff in there, tell us what claim, ask you everything, and then we review your claim and email you or call you, whichever one you prefer. So
that's amazing. You're in with the times, leveraging tech. I love this. This is great stuff. I'm going to drop this in the chat here for everyone to have. But I just want to thank you again. This was extremely valuable, Andy, and make sure you tap in All City Adjusting. They're my go-to. They're on my team. The question is, will they be on your team? And more importantly, it's important for you to have as many tools as possible so you can help other families on the other side, because that's what good businesses do. It's people helping people on the other side of businesses, and good business is only done with good people like Andy. So thank you, Andy. My goodness. Mic drop. Give him a hand and make sure we drop him a review. I want to see some reviews there. I want to see that pop up. I'm going to be dropping.
Those reviews do help. So I do appreciate it. If anyone does leave a review, just thank you upfront. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Well, Andy, go ahead and spend quality time. You and I will be in touch. More business coming your way. Best way I know how to pay you. How's that?
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you, everyone. And Andy, hope everyone drives home safe.
Be safe, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Experimentation, I believe there are two critical components that will help you achieve your goals very quickly and succeed. Number one, it's information like this that you received on a show, in an episode, and content that you can find on my YouTube channel or anybody's channel. And then there's a community. And the way we've been able to expedite our process, the way people in our community, people that we consult, mastermind members, whoever, they get the information on an episode like this, but then they also have a support, whether it's me guiding them or being guided through a community. There is an opportunity for you listening to be able to expedite your process or even expedite your results that you're seeking by being part of the community. If that is what you're interested in, we at Experiment Nation happen to have a community devoted to helping maximize your occupancy and your profitability altogether, regardless of which market that you are in. And for that reason, you have an opportunity where you can go to experimentrealestate.com/submit if you're looking to work in an environment that can help you prosper faster. Call out any areas that you might not be familiar in, especially the blind spots. That's where a guide comes in hand, and I would be a pleasure and honor to be your guide. But in order to make sure you're a good fit, make sure you go to experimentrealestate.com/submit so that my team can go ahead and take it and see if you're a good fit to join the mastermind and the multiple programs that we have. In addition to that, I'm also now a YouTube partner, which means that I want to give you more access to information, more access to Q&As, more access to the questions that actually come out of our mastermind to help people expedite the process. We've seen people get anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 to even $7,000 a month net on just one door by applying the strategies that we use by working with corporations and furnished accommodation in a very strategic way. So if you're interested, make sure you also subscribe, because I'm going to have different tiers that's on YouTube now that we've become YouTube partner, to continue to be the bridge to your success in your lab. And your lab means your life, your goals, or wherever you're trying to head. So make sure you also hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/real estate experiment. We'll be there. You can also look us up at Midterm Rental Insurance Experiment. We will be there. Make sure you hit the subscribe, because that's when you'll know the tiers that are available to you that make sense for you, your marketplace, for your results. Remember, you're only one experiment away. Let's build.